All right, hello everyone. Let me just make sure we're all situated here. Great, it's 5:30. Hi everyone. On behalf of the Asian corporate and entrepreneur leaders in Phoenix, Las Vegas, San Jose, and SoCal, welcome to Accel's virtual event. My name is VQ, and I will be your host this afternoon. But before I get into the program, I just want to give you guys a little bit of information about me. I'm an Arizona native and a proud Wildcat of the University of Arizona down here in Tucson, or down Tucson. I studied mechanical engineering, and now I work at a public power utility here in Phoenix called Salt River Project. I've been involved with Accel for about 3 years now, and this is actually my first year playing an active role in their annual leadership events. So each year, Accel puts on an annual leadership conference, and due to the pandemic, we had to pivot and cancel all of our conference planning. But we decided to put on these virtual events in lieu of the annual conference so that our members and our communities can still get the opportunity to meet and connect with our keynote speakers. This event, while still very virtual, among other events, we still uphold our core values within these events. That is leadership, education, accountability, and diversity. We value development, inspiration, and connection of leaders. We value lifelong learning, and we value diversity, inclusion, and innovation. Accel is an organization with a number of goals too. Most of them are listed on the next slide here. The ways in which we achieve these goals is through our cross-country chapters, and we also have a lot of collegiate chapters too. And in fact, in Arizona, we have a collegiate chapter each at ASU and also one at U of A. And if you guys want to join these chapters or learn more, just visit www.com or www.accelleaders.org, or just connect with Accel on Facebook and we'll get you guys situated and get you guys connected. We also have mentorship program where we put together classes for mentees every year in hopes to energize the careers and skill sets of up-and-coming leaders with the help of our experienced mentors. We conduct this mentorship program in person in the greater Phoenix area. So if you're interested to apply in our mentorship program, you can do so at our website. And I think mentorship program applications are accepted through July 31st. So get online, get to our website and apply. And also just keep in mind, we're still in a pandemic, and just be flexible in case we need to change up our dates a little bit. But as far as we know, July 31st is the drop dead deadline. All right, so that's housekeeping. Before I get into our discussion, I just wanted to preface really quickly that today's discussion with our special guest, it's not very typical. It's not a typical presentation. It's actually an interview and very interactive with our speaker, Sophie Williams. So if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to jot them down in our chat box on Facebook, and we'll be sure to get to them at our Q&A session at the end of this presentation. So I want to take the time to cue up Sophie Williams, our guest speaker for today. She is the founder and president of World Image Consulting. It's her company. You can get more information at www.worldimageconsulting.com. She is, as an international image consultant, she works with multinational corporations, startups, and individuals on cultivating their best image, whether that's professionally or socially. Through sharing knowledge and insights on communication, personal branding, leadership, cultural etiquette, and sensitivity, Sophie helps clients from all over the world attain success in different areas of their lives. So without further ado, I'll bring up Sophie Williams. If she's, I hope she is here. I think we might have a little bit of a technical delay. Appreciate your guys' patience. Oh, hi, Sophie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Well, yes, we just met. No, I'm just teasing,
Good
but
to see and hear you.
hello. So hi everybody. Do I see Kathleen there? Okay. Hi.
Hi, Sophie.
So V, let's start.
Well, we're talking today about charisma.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe we can start with what's the definition of charisma?
Shall we do
What does
that?
it
Shall we
mean?
start with definition? So in Greek, it's actually called the gift of grace. So shall we put it up? The definition that I actually chose a very, very simple one because I don't want to overwhelm our audience. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Kathy. The ability to attract, to charm, and influence the people all around you. So it looks really simple, right? Because charisma is something that we feel like we know, but we can't really put our finger on it. Have you ever realized that when you are at an event or you are at a dinner and you see somebody that's really charismatic, and you're always thinking, what is it that's making this person so um, alluring, right? It's sexy, it's captivating, it's almost sometimes mysterious, but you just can't really find out like why is this person so attractive? And it's not really only about how this person is being perceived, right, in the general public, but more about how this person makes you feel. So the ability to attract and charm, that will be the physical part, but to influence someone, because we hear about many different very charismatic individuals in history, right? People even say that Hitler was very charismatic. I don't really agree entirely because I have my own list of people that I find very charismatic. But these people who are leaders usually are charismatic, which is why they're able to have people follow them. And these are diehard fans, right? You realize that there is something about them that they're able to lead with people having placed so much trust in them. And we can't really quantify, or we couldn't at that time. But now time has changed where science comes in. So I would say charisma is both an art and science. Because a lot of people have this misconception, right? They think, okay, charisma, oh, you know what? We're not born with it. So forget about it, right? I'll just let myself go. we don't have to care. But no, I think science plays a huge part of this. Yeah, it's going to be sharing that. Yeah. So we have this
scientific image.
Yeah. Actually, that will tie in with some of the do's and don'ts that I'm going to be sharing later. But definitely today we'll be sharing about how you can actually improve and elevate your charisma quotient.
So let me ask you then, you mentioned a second ago misconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
What are they? I mean, what are the myths? Can you debunk them for us?
Absolutely. So I don't think I'll be doing any justice to the audience or charisma itself by squeezing everything I want to share into 30 minutes, because I think there's just so much I want to share. And I want you to be able to bring home with you things that are beyond what you read online, the very cliche 3 points of how to be more charismatic. I want to dive much deeper into the importance of charisma. What exactly is it, and how can we have actionable steps, to achieve that? So coming back to your question, so regarding the myths that I really want to debunk, number one, people think that, well, do we have to be extremely good looking? Do we have to be a perfect 10 to be charismatic? The answer is it's a very strong no. You will realize that there are many people, again, historical figures, or even people that you have met, whether they are, some of the movie stars, if you have met, some politicians, or even just ordinary people who are not, famous. What makes them real? I mean, even when they're not good looking, they actually are extremely attractive and they are very captivating. They have this allure, right? So the myth is the myth that people always have is we have to be extremely good looking. We have to be, perfect. No, but you need to be well groomed, right? You can't be haggard and you can't really be forgetting about your hygiene. And I know you're squinting, you're squinting. So that's number one. Number two, people ask me, so do I have to be born with it? I'm not born with it, so should I just, blame my parents since?
I think of Michael Jordan.
I know. Exactly. That's what, we were just talking about. Think about this. Michael Jordan, I don't know if he's born with it, but he's an extremely charismatic individual. I've met him once. So he walks into a room and, besides the fact that he's really tall, and I think that really helps. But again, I have met people who are really, really tiny, but you know what? They command the whole room. They light up the whole room. They actually draw attention from everybody without even intending to. They just walk into it and people feel like, wow, I really want to talk to this person. So let's come back to Michael Jordan. That's a great example that I wanted to use. I find him extremely charismatic. And I would quantify that to be a leadership type of charisma. He's actually quite fun-loving. He's very sweet. When he talks, he actually makes you feel that you are the only person that he's talking to once he's talking. So there are millions of people trying to get his attention, trying to talk to him. But when you do get to exchange a few words with him, or when he's asking how you are and chat a little bit, you realize that he has eyes only for you, right? So this is a very, very crucial part about charisma, where again, I want to tie to what people have misconceptions about regarding charisma. People think, okay, charisma means I walk into a room and I'll be very attractive. I want to be the most attractive person. And look, I'm here to showcase how wonderful I am. But that's not charisma. Charisma, one huge component is how you make the other party or the other person that you're interacting with feel. Whether you will instill or you will inspire hope, trust, whether the person starts to feel like, oh, you know what, I really connect with you. So it's beyond liking you. It's not a popularity contest. Again, a lot of people, perhaps, when we're younger, we thought, oh, that's charisma, that's charm. Although there's still a little bit of difference between charm and charisma, but I'll get to that some other time, since I only have 30 minutes. But coming back to that, regarding charisma, you don't need to have, great looks. You don't need to have Michael Jordan's height, but you really need to know how to carry yourself, connect with people. And Michael Jordan has that great way of connecting with people, right? He's extremely warm. That's another thing I want to raise. I know a lot of things that we read online does not cover that, but on the other hand, science really have done, we know that a lot of studies have been done showing that people do gravitate towards people who are much warmer, and we place our trust in them. We tend to do more of that than somebody who is just, stone cold. And I think that's just common sense. We realize that, right? But is your warmth authentic? That's the other component. So I don't want to digress. If we were to come back to the last or the third part or the third myth that I want to debunk, right? It's actually introverted and extroverted people. We always think, oh, he is really charismatic. He must be really, really extroverted. But that's not true. If you think about, let me think of an example. So Kofi Annan, he was, well, unfortunately, he passed away. So I think he was a great man. He was a former, I think he was a Secretary General of the UN. So it was a huge diplomatic role that he was playing. He was extremely soft-spoken. So again, you see, I'm trying to use different examples to show you that you don't have to have a very extroverted type of personality or temperament in order
What about Princess Diana?
Exactly. So we did talk about that yesterday. So Princess Diana, I'm going to come to that and kind of tie it into the same category as Kofi Annan. Right?
Oh, okay.
They were, well, unfortunately, both have passed away, and so that's really a huge loss for the world. Both were humanitarians, and they were both really soft-spoken, and especially Princess Diana. She was very shy. Have you heard of the term shy die? So she had this nickname where she was called, Shy Di, because she was so shy. She actually, if you watch different video clips of her in the past, before she really blossomed into this really much more confident and charismatic, she was oozing charm and charisma, right? Before that, when she first married Prince Charles, I think she was 19, wasn't she? Yeah, she was 19. And so she was kind of in her shell. She hasn't broken out. And she sometimes would even kind of, hide her face as she's talking. She kind of mumbles. She doesn't really speak up. But if you see how she has progressed through the years, you will see, wow, she has blossomed. So this really proves, right, that you don't have to be extroverted and loud and crazy in order to be charismatic. I mean, there are people who are much more extroverted who have, displayed a lot of high levels of charisma. But then you also have soft-spoken, shy, reserved people who I think they have this huge thing that I really admire, and I do notice. And if you could pay attention to that, they have this very quiet confidence. Have you noticed? Have you met people like that? Where they don't have to shout to get your attention, but when they speak, there is charm, right? Mm-hmm. There is something mysterious that you really want to draw out from them. You want to discover, you want to find out more from them. And all these come together as a package. It's very authentic. They're not trying to trick you to like them. Again, it's not a, liking competition and popularity thing. Right. So these are the three myths I think are the biggest ones that I wanted to touch on. So if I were to just flip this around and ask you, V, I'm trying to think, what are the words that come to your mind if you step into a situation where from what you remember, that you met someone who is really charismatic? What are the words that come to your mind? What are the adjectives? I'm curious to share with the.
So they might be broad, but connection, eye contact is a big one for me. Like as soon as someone locks eyes on me, that is when I feel connection, and that is when I feel charisma, or at least that's when I know I have the capability of feeling charisma. So, and then I guess you already mentioned it before, but warmth. There's that. It somewhat makes me think of the introverted people. They kind of have this mysteriousness to them of being charismatic, and I think it's that warmth that you were talking about too.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned quite a few things. Kathleen, can we have that the do's and don'ts list brought up?
I love do's and don'ts list.
Yeah, because I prepared this. They are very simple. This, just 10, but they actually are really important points that we have to hopefully bear in mind. Do's, well, let's talk about the don'ts, because I realized that what you were mentioning, eye contact, whether the person is being warm, they kind of fall into the category of what people usually, or should I say, there are many mistakes that they make. You and I must have noticed that when we talk to some people at, a gala, at an event, they don't really pay attention to you. So even though they're talking to you, their eyes are darting around, and they don't make you feel like they are really present. So this is another really huge thing that I want to mention about charisma. It's called presence, right? So not only are you physically there, you truly devote your time and attention to that person or that party that you're talking to, instead of being distracted. Distraction, or constant, running away, or having your eyes darting around. These are very unattractive traits, and definitely you will notice that people who are charismatic, they really pay attention to you. So now is a good chance to actually do some observations as you attend more events. I think when things open up, and I don't know if people will be walking around in beautiful ball gowns, but have the mask on, but that's the problem now. I think we can't really read somebody's lips and see the expressions, and I think that's a huge problem. But then that can also extend into our voice, right? Sure. How is your vocal presence? Do you know, V, that's also really important. So let's see the list. people who are speaking too quickly or too loudly, right? Tone really matters. Have you heard, people who have screeching loud voices? That that makes it hard, right, to deal with a person when you, for example, you're having a meeting, or even when you are chatting with a person in I suppose a social event. It's not the most pleasant experience. So you see, even tones matter a lot. So like
Right.
and fidgeting. So
Ah.
have you noticed that when people don't let the clothes wear you, you
Oh,
wear,
I like that.
you wear your clothes, you own it, right? So let's say you're wearing something that's really pretty and you have prepared this lovely, for the man, beautiful suit, or the women's beautiful dress. Have you noticed that there are many women who are extremely, gorgeous ladies? But I've noticed something, in my observations and my surveys and in my experiments, I've noticed that they fidget a lot. So it's either, they're adjusting the strap, or they kind of not feel comfortable. There's this, of course, expression, being comfortable in your own skin. And cliche as it may sound, is very, very true. So again, you must own what you wear. Don't let it kind of control your whole evening. So I see people going like this, pulling the clothes, or shoes that they wear are not comfortable. So you have to be really comfortable. And comfort, I would say, not just in terms of how you feel, but also physically, you have to be comfortable in what you're wearing. If your suits and your dresses are too tight, don't wear them. See, of course, then we're talking about the more physical part, no matter how beautiful you think it is, because it affects you. That's why people who are really charismatic, they look really relaxed. Have you noticed?
I have.
They don't squint. They don't like, they are usually they are calm. Well, unless they're really giving a very heated speech, right? We talk about politicians or people, but besides that, if we're at a social function, usually they're very relaxed. They are not trying to, push forward to anywhere. They don't try to get your attention. But yet, you willingly want to give them that. You are drawn to them. You feel like, I really want to know more about this person. I want to hear this person talk. So I would say it's physical and substance. Without substance, there's nothing for you to share. So I have some notes here, right? Because I'm trying to squeeze into 30 minutes. I don't want to miss things that I can actually help to demystify.
We've got some time, Sophie, but we also have some questions too for later when we get to questions.
Okay, question Q&A. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, so professionally, many people have asked me, so I want to be more charismatic because I want to succeed professionally. And, and it makes sense, right? Because studies have shown people who earn more usually are more charismatic. Well, of course, you have to have the skill sets. You can't just be a fake and be a fraud and not be able to do your job. So that's of course the main thing. But beyond that, how do you manage to get that job and really flourish? It's to make sure that you are able to keep a certain level of self, and you have this certain attractiveness in you. And this is why, because I have clients who share this with me, that after we have talked and we have worked together in coaching sessions, that they feel their negotiation skills have improved. And what does that mean? They get to close more deals, right? And also promotion opportunities. So now we're just talking about professionally, and they earn more. So these are the very practical reasons why people feel like, okay, I really want to up my game. I want to be much more charismatic. And that really makes sense. And then for the social part and the personal part, I'm sure we all want to be liked and loved and embraced. Yes, and to be welcomed. And this is human nature. I mean, we cannot refute that, because it's just how we all feel, whether we admit it or not. Because a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be liked. It's okay, you don't like me. But we all crave for that as humans. However, I do have to, again, note and bring the audience's attention to this, which is we build charisma without sacrificing, or rather cutting corners of our values, right? So that's another thing about we don't have to bring back the list, but on the list that I was mentioning earlier, it says don't be a people pleaser. So we are not trying to build and become, charismatic so that we can attract people only, and also we are not trying to do this and please people in the process, right? It's of course, but there's a very delicate line. We do want to find a very positive common ground. So you don't want to go to an event or have closer connections, maybe a dinner with people and start to be negative and start to complain, gossip, talk about really unpleasant things in crude words. You might justify and say, but that's me. I'm being very natural. But you have to be careful in terms of where you should draw the line. As I mentioned much earlier, I think 10 minutes ago, it's about how you make the other party feels, right?
Sure.
Whether they feel good about themselves. And I must emphasize, not about lying to the person. So you don't go there and say, oh, you look beautiful, and actually you don't think so. You have to mean it. And for several reasons, people can very easily spot a fraud, right? So if you pretend and say, oh, you look great, and then you don't really mean it, it will eventually show. It doesn't matter how good you are in hiding it. In life, people really have experiences in dealing with that. And even if not, then wouldn't you find that quite meaningless to be people pleasing in order to be liked? So again, it's much further beyond being liked, right? So I want to make sure. So I want to say this again, without digressing. I'm trying to squeeze it in, and also at the same time not speak so fast that the audience can't catch it, because I know there's going to be like a minute delay in Facebook live.
A little bit.
So I want to say this, and I really want to share. Have you noticed that in charisma, or people who are really charismatic, there is this very, how would I say, attractive balance of or dance between, for example, being humble at the same time having a certain sense of pride. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed that about people who are, so again, today I said I wanted to dive, deeper into things and not just scratch the surface, because those you can just read it online, right? Sure. These are things that I have personally, through years of research and observations, noticed that, charismatic individuals, they like, if you want to talk about the same example that we mentioned, Michael Jordan, he has a sense of pride. He has this, you feel this power that is inspiring, right? When he talks to you. But at the same time, you notice that he's also very humble. So it's a very delicate balance. But I think people who really succeed in being very charismatic and, following the steps and building the blocks to become a very charismatic person, sure, they have mastered this balance. And let me give you another example. So they can be also very warm. They're very empathetic, right? So they do connect with you. They understand you. They know what your emotions are as they are talking to you. But at the same time, they can be very tough too. When I say tough, I mean strong. They can still be very strong. They have this inner strength. So isn't it weird? They are strong, but yet, they're tough, but they are humble. And at the same time, the other thing I wanted to note, and I was just talking about this with someone the other day, that someone who is really charismatic are also very, they can be very vulnerable. Have sure. You? See, I see that you're looking. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna loop in. Like, I'm getting a glimpse of some of the questions, and they're related exactly to what you're talking about right now. You kind of have these opposites, and somehow they work. And so one of the questions was, charisma as a science. What does that mean? And I feel like you're exemplifying that science right now. It's that balance between these opposite things.
Exactly. So it's like physics, right? So yeah. I don't like science. So I took science classes. I did well. I studied hard, but I'm not really, because you are an engineer. So we have a great engineer here in front of me. So about science, yes, because science comes in because they have done a lot of experiments proving that this whole myth about charisma can be broken down into, can be quantified into actionable steps. So of course, I mean, in this 30 minutes, I can't be covering everything and say, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's, it takes a lot of time, patience, and repetitions of certain actions that you do over and over again in order to achieve that. So you might say, oh my God, I'm not going to do that because this is too much trouble. But I must assure you, as long as this road is, right, and as much effort you have to put in, it's well worth it, right? The rewards are bountiful, as I already mentioned in the very beginning. I hope that answers that. So science does break it down. Science proves that people can learn to become charismatic, when in the past people thought, if you're not born with it, then goodbye, give up on your life, just be, whatever. So that's what it is. And of course, I can't in 30 minutes talk about the many more experiments, but in the future, when I get a chance, I'll be happy to share, right, the scientific experiments and things like that. So
that's awesome. Now I'm just captivated. I want to know what the steps are, but maybe instead of going through all the steps, I know we don't have time and this is very interactive, but maybe we can do like a really quick like example, or maybe a what do we call role play?
Okay, shall we do that? That would be fun.
Okay, so picture this. Okay, I am about to meet you the first time ever. You are at a gala, and I know that you're this exquisite image consultant professional, and I want to really impress you.
You flatter me, and you're very
I don't know why. So I picture this. I come in, and I will scene. This is V. Hi, my name is V. It's really great to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Can I stop you there?
Yeah, please tell me.
As you're walking towards me, right? Mm-hmm. Those few split seconds, if our eyes meet, we already have contact, right?
Right.
So I want you to describe to me, how are you going to walk towards me? Are you going to be holding a glass of wine? Are your eyes looking towards me with warmth? Are you walking towards me with a smile? These are really important things that we have to bear in mind. And I know you're thinking, oh my God, again, it's so much. But again, to be successful in being charismatic, all these play together. You can't have one element, two components. You have to have this balance where everything comes together. And that's the hard part, but that's also the fun and challenging part, right? So, okay, so you walk towards me.
So I'll walk towards you. And this time I will have a glass of wine. This is
you don't have to, but if you do, let's say I have my water, actually, sorry, I don't have wine. But the reason I mentioned this is at events. Well, again, it depends on where you are, right? So at events, the reason I mentioned this is because most people will be having a drink in their hand, or, it doesn't have to be wine. I usually drink water, sparkling, I like that. I hold it in my left hand, or depending if you're a left-hander or right-hander, and make sure you have your other hand empty and free. Okay. Why? Because you want to be able to shake hands with the other person and not be like, oh, I'm holding my, I don't know, hors d'oeuvres and food. I tend to eat a lot, right? So, but I always want to make sure I have a hand free to do that, or to kind of, reach out for my business cards if I want to share them with the other person. So you have this, but you always make sure that you have a chance, if you can, put it down, right? So you see the person, if you have a table, you just kind of like put it down and shake your hands and say, hello, how are you? So, hi.
Okay, so I'm approaching, I've got a glass, I'm smiling. Hi, Sophie, my name's V. I have so been looking forward to meeting you. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, you see, you nailed it, because your pitch tells me that it's not overly high, but it's high enough to let me know that you are enthusiastic and you are happy to meet me. So everything, right? I see that, well, I can't really see that closely, but I see that your eyes communicated warmth. You showed me that you really were looking forward to meeting me. And people like that. People actually, whether they like it or not, they do feel drawn to people who are opening up to them. They feel like, oh, you're embracing me. And that's just, one of the human nature that we just talked about earlier. So I see that from you. Big smile, warm eyes, you pay attention, and you're very polite. See, so respect and manners also play a lot into how you can connect with the person. So now we have gotten that down, which is hello, how are you, pleasantries, greetings. We start to kind of eyeball each other, and we, usually it's like this: when two people or two parties meet, they kind of start to build this impression, right? And think, okay, so go ahead and I'll wait for you to make your next move in chatting.
Okay. So we're trying this again. Hi, Sophie, it's so great to meet you. Thank you so much for being here. My name is V.
V, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's a joy to be here. So how are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a great day. And
so
I'm sorry, the eye contact, it's distracting.
But of course, it shouldn't be creepy, right? You shouldn't be like staring like a crazy person at the, because I see a lot of that, and I don't blame them, because sometimes people really grew up without any of these cues. And again, the encouraging part is that it can be learned. So I don't want our audience to feel discouraged at all. Always feel hopeful, because you can really learn this. And I have had people who wrote to me or called me and told me that, clients or people that I volunteered with and also for, have told me that, look, doing this over and over again, I started to develop confidence. See, that's the key thing about charisma. Am I giving too much information? I want to squeeze everything in. I want to make this really rewarding, right? This meeting between you and I. So you did a great thing. Let's see, I'm trying to see. So now I sense nervousness, because you're thinking like, what should I say next? So one good way is to perhaps make a comment about something you already know about the person. Okay. And that only applies if you already know the person, right? So whether it's a speaker, whether it's a writer, whoever that you'll be meeting. But if it's a complete stranger and you feel like, oh, I really want to, I think she looks very kind. She looks interesting, or he looks, very embracing. I want to say hello. These are people that you don't know. So for you to take the first step and say hello, how are you, and have a very confident handshake, or maybe now is not the best time to shake hands, but to have this contact, you know what that shows and what that tells about you? Strength, that you're courageous. And all these things that I mentioned are tied into someone being charismatic and charming. Because you don't really have someone who's really weak and wizzly that people will ever consider them to be charming or charismatic. So, hello.
So,
V.
I mean, to come to that hello, how are you question, like, do you feel that sometimes when you ask, hi, how are you? Like, could that get old? Or are there different ways to spice that up to make your charismatic quotient increase?
Yes. So always remember, it's not only what you say, but also how you say it, right? So have you ever seen people who say, how are you? They don't really care how you are. So
all the time. Oh my gosh. It's like another day in business. It's like a business day, right? Hey,
you open your mouth to explain, right? You open your mouth to share and say, oh, and then you realize that they are not really interested. They don't know. It's basically a hi. And then they go on to whatever they are there for, which is to, I think, mostly self-serving purposes. So, for example, I want to ask you to do this for me. So instead of really being interested in, of course, it's different if, let's say, your boss is rushing you for a report, that's different. But if you're talking about meeting someone outside, in even professional networking event or in social events, when you say hello, how are you, mean it. You really have to mean it. So for me, I have met you, a week ago? Not long, right? Because so you've been introduced to me, and I feel like I really want to know you, right? You'll be hosting this, you'll be interviewing me. So I didn't really get the chance to do that, right? Because we have been really busy. But just now we got a chance to chit chat just a little bit. And so was I really interested in knowing? Yes, I was. Well, for two reasons, right? Because I have to work with you on this. So that's the practical reason. But also because, you came across as someone that I felt, oh, I could connect with. So coming back to your question, the hello, it could be a I don't care hello, or it could be hello, how are you? Have you had dinner? Did you come straight from work? Or it could be hi, how are you? Or good evening,
Right.
afternoon, good morning, how do you do?
Different flavors of hi, how are you?
Yeah. And of course I know then you have the more casual, what's up? Those,
Yeah.
I suppose those are more of people who already are acquainted with one another. So
Sure.
yeah, shall we
Sure.
move on? I've
got a few more questions if you don't mind me bringing them up. This one's really interesting.
Oh, you have more questions? Oh, we already have Q&A. It's okay. Let's tie them.
We do. And I think your answers to them are just captivating. So one of them was there's on your dues when a scenario comes up where you are not able to relate to someone, how do you come off as empathetic rather than sympathetic? So it's this differentiation between empathy and sympathy.
I want to give a substantial answer, but I want to know, why would sympathy be playing into this? If the call, I mean, the writer, what do you mean by sympathy? Why would sympathy be playing into this? If the person is listening, can you kind of elaborate?
This is from, oh, I don't know who it's from, but I wonder, I mean, just off of, if we don't have a lot of context, I wonder, are you not supposed to have any sympathy if you're trying to be charismatic? Or
No,
are you only supposed to be empathetic?
Of course.
Or is it a mixture of both?
A mixture of both. For example, somebody I've met, so let's say recently, I have been in, it doesn't have to be recent, okay? So let's say in the past, if I meet someone and the person shares something with me, and I just met the person, and mind you, there are people who would share immediately something that happened that was very unpleasant. So they could say, oh, you know what? I came straight from work and I just had a fight with my boss, and I'm in such a bad mood. You'd be surprised. People will actually talk about that. Or they would, you know what? My aunt got into a car accident last week, and I really love her, and I'm feeling down about this. Or, oh, I have been laid off 2 months ago, so that's why I'm here at this event. I wanted to listen to you speak, and things like that. So sympathy does kick in.
Okay.
So when you hear that, what's your natural reaction? Even though I hear from the person who posed the question, maybe you don't feel drawn to that person. You don't feel like the person is attractive in the sense of being charismatic, or holding his or her own. But if you already started this conversation with a person and the person shared this with you, then I almost feel like there is a humanity obligation. And I think this has nothing to do with charisma, or maybe it does, because in this whole really deep notion of charisma, I think it ties a very, very important component, which I think is your heart. It really is. I know perhaps a lot of people will say, yeah, that's just BS. Come on, we are there to want to advance in our work. We want to advance in our relationship. But you know what? I think you can really be attractive and be thought of as charismatic in the beginning and be attracting and captivating someone, but can it be sustained through time? Right? So I do remember the question. So yes, sympathy, definitely. If the person shares something with you that calls for that, please express that. If nothing else, is humanity, isn't it? And beyond that, empathy, you really feel with the person, for example. But it has to be very genuine, though. You can't lie and pretend. For example, I'll just give something funny would be, oh, I don't like this hors d'oeuvre. It tastes. Do you think it tasted kind of fishy? It's not very fresh. And if I really experience that, then you express your empathy, right? You go, yeah, I know this is a very nice hotel, and and I know the host has done a wonderful job in catering this lovely hors d'oeuvres, and I love how it's all set up. But yes, I think there was a bit of
a little bit fishiness in the hors d'oeuvres.
Yes. So you be very honest, you share. But if I didn't think so, then be honest and say, no, I didn't taste it. Maybe I should take another bite and see whether something like that, where
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? So you'll be very
Yeah.
authentic. And again,
Yeah.
people are not fools. They will know whether you're being authentic or you're just pretending to be, so
Right.
that you could be liked. So, okay.
All right, we've got 10 minutes left. I have a really good question. So right now, as we are dealing with coronavirus, we're very hypersensitive to the health and wellness in the public. We are handicapped of a handshake. We can't handshake each other. So how can we assure that we are coming off as charismatic when we don't have the tool of a handshake anymore, or at least now?
Handshakes are really important, but I think people kind of overrate handshakes. So then I have conducted seminars based on handshakes alone, right, in the past. But I don't want to bore you with that here. But yes, so whether we're wearing a mask or not, and we definitely cannot have any more handshakes, we could actually have, if you are having a mask on, only your eyes can communicate, right? You'd be surprised how much your eyes can tell your feelings and your emotions. So let's say now, if I'm smiling, right? So if I were to cover my face and I go, and I'm smiling, can you see?
Yeah, can you see mine?
Yeah, you actually have a like a surprise look, but so I'm smiling, and if I'm really agitated and I go, I'm frowning, right? Of course, these
furrowed eyebrows.
Right, these are very obvious examples, but I'm just trying to illustrate what I'm, my points regarding this. So you can communicate with your eyes at the same time with your tone. You know, make full use of your voice, whether it's calming, is it comforting. So imagine if you have shared something for me with me that it's that calls for sympathy or empathy or just basic understanding. I'm not going to be speaking really fast and really loud and and overwhelm you, right? So I will perhaps, so sensitivity plays a huge part in charisma too. You want to be sensitive to the person's emotions and kind of work, around these angles and kind of see, oh, if I say this, will this hurt this person's feelings, especially in this time? So that's another huge component or skill that we have to develop. So I hope that answers, where you can actually express with your eyes, with your voice, with your tone.
What do you think about like body positioning?
Yes, that's another thing. You don't want to be like, yeah, what?
Kind of like standoffish like this?
Yes, because you know that if the person, or you are doing something else, and don't forget, we keep doing this, right? Oh yeah, hi, how are you?
Oh God.
That's really rude, and that can hurt. I mean, you might say, well, I'm a really busy person, right? Well, first of all, if you're really busy, then don't go outside to network or to go outside and, well, unless somebody approached you while you're busy. But other than that, I don't think we have any excuses to be doing that, because that's very dismissive. I think I mentioned in one of my do's and don'ts too. It's very hurtful, and definitely you're not gonna win anybody's favor if you come across as being cross and rude and disrespectful, right? So yeah, these are things that you have to watch out for. So body language, you face the person if you're really talking and having a conversation, and again, the presence, right? You want to be there. You want to completely extend yourself to that person. Yeah.
Well, we've got 5 minutes, and I always love ending kind of my discussions like this with this question. It's, if there's one key takeaway that you want your audience to take from you today, whether it's one thing to practice or one thing to remember, what would that be? What can you leave for our listeners today?
Let me think.
You gave us a whole bunch, so we're going to take all of that anyway. So
I hope this was rewarding. Let's see. Can I have 3?
Okay, I like 3.
3, yeah. I don't want to be stingy. I want to make sure I'm generous. So, by the way, generosity is very important too.
I love that.
You don't want to be stingy. You don't want to be like counting your pennies when you're dealing with people, because you know what? In life is give and take, right?
Yeah.
So don't always, because you will never meet a person who is charismatic that is very petty. You know, generosity, genuine generosity from your heart. I find that that's very captivating, and that's
Sure.
so. Coming back to your question, I will give 3 takeaways. Number 1, connection. Right, I want this word to always be in your mind. Whatever you can do to establish a meaningful, or at least strong connection with someone, whether it's to be empathetic, whether it's to listen attentively. Please listen. So try to talk less and listen more, right? And understand the person's feelings. And trust me, these over practice, you will come to that point where you are able to listen well. And also, so connection with with people, that also builds trust. Right? So connection, communication, because I talked about, your vocal presence, whether you're clear in delivering what you want to say, because that's how you can become a charismatic leader, because you have to communicate what you want to say clearly. You can't be completely, people like, huh? What are you saying?
Sure.
Right? You have to, and also to communicate with conviction. You have to believe in yourself. And that comes to the 3rd point, which is, well, I wish I had more time, but confidence. Whether it's a quiet confidence, whether it's something a little bit more outgoing kind. But again, that's a whole different topic, right? About confidence, how you build it. So the 10 points 20 points that I had over there, I think one of the slides, those are actionable steps that you can take. So hopefully take them with you, practice, and try to fill your lives with the do's, take away the don'ts. And then hopefully time when we have a chance, we will meet again and we can discuss further.
Well, there you have it, everyone. You've got connection, communication, confidence, and Sophie gave us a list of do's and don'ts, which actually is the science and the steps it takes to increase your quotient of charisma. So thank you so much, Sophie. I was captivated the whole time. And also just anyone that's on Facebook right now, if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and just reach Sophie, whether that's on Facebook or reach her through her website. She is made available, and as you can tell, very captivating and very willing to educate all of us here. So thank you, Sophie. I so appreciated this conversation we had.
No, the pleasure is mine. So hi to everybody, and thank you for spending this, I guess, an hour with us. It was my pleasure. So V, it's nice to see you again.
It's good seeing you again too, Sophie.
Bye.
So before I let you guys all go, I'm gonna go into a little bit of just next steps and other things to look forward to with what Acel is doing here. We are excited to announce a United Arizona Community Initiative between us, Acel, and the FBI, Phoenix Citizens Academy Alumni Association, to show our appreciation for all the hard work of Phoenix COVID-19 Incident Management Team. The city's COVID-19 IMT is hardworking, dedicated group of about 70 people. These are all of our first responders. So we're talking fire, police, dispatchers, safety officers, nurses, you name it, who are at it nonstop during this entire pandemic. This group also coordinates and assists with the evaluation and distribution of personal protective equipment, or PPE, for about 40 plus public safety jurisdictions across the valley. They also assure a coordinated public safety interface with the healthcare and public health system. So they've got their hands tied. So we'll be accepting donations now until June 30th. There's a GoFundMe link here on our slide. And in general, if you guys decide to donate, we thank you so much for lifting up everyone in our community and making a positive impact. Next, what's going on with our live Facebook events? We've got a few coming up. We've got 3 here. July 1st, we've got Rudy Pennington. I'm going to mess up all these names, so I'm not even going to try saying it. We've got an event on July 1st, July 9th, and July 16th. And this is all just in lieu of the leadership conference. So we really hope that all of you can join in on our virtual events coming up. If you need any more information, just connect with us on Facebook, and our information is down below. We also have a SoCal event on July 14th. It's a magic presentation. If you want to know more information on this, go to our Accel SoCal Facebook page for any and all details. And with that, I thank everyone again for jumping on, asking your amazing questions, and giving us an hour of your afternoon. And with that, everyone have a safe and wonderful Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.